Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take on a very chilly Tuesday night. Glad you could join us, Sharp and Shapiro. A lot to get to today, as we always have a lot to get to. Bernie Sanders back in the mix, running for president of the United States. We'll get to that. Some possible voter fraud. Well, not possible, definite voter fraud in North Carolina. We'll get to that. Boy, this Jussie Smollett story is it's getting weirder and weirder by the day. We are going to dive into that as well, but I'm going to start this subject off with something I normally don't, and that is local media. But before I get to that, speaking of local media, he's a friend of the show. I'm lucky to call him my friend, and he does a fantastic job for us as he comes in every Tuesday. The legend himself. It's not the legend of Ron Burgundy. It's the legend of Ron Futrell joining us with his presence in studio. Ron, how are you?
I'm going to go better than Burgundy. No, stay classy, Las Vegas. Stay classy. Okay, we'll go with that. But thank you. No, I appreciate that intro. And no, we're just here to have some fun, have a good time on a Tuesday night. That's what we do here on Tuesday is have a good time, have some fun, talk a little politics, go back and forth, trade some paint. By the way, they traded paint at NASCAR this weekend.
Yes.
Did they not at the Daytona with
yes.
With 100 cars got wiped out in one wreck.
I saw that wreck.
Oh,
I was actually
maybe it was 21.
I was in Laughlin watching it at a really obscure sports book before the NBA All-Star game. That was I never watched NASCAR, but that was actually a fun race. I did watch a little bit of it. Well, we're going to mix things up a little bit here. Usually I start with the news of the day, but a lot of people that call up, a lot of people on the right, Donald Trump supporters, they like to call, certain members of the media or organizations fake news. Well, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the local media. And I'm going to name a few names of people that I am a little bit frustrated with, and I don't care. They can sue me if they want to. That's fine. I'm entitled to my opinion. And sure, they don't think very highly of me either. That's fine. I really don't care. They could say my name a gazillion times on their show. I don't care. But we talk about credibility in the media, right? Yesterday, a lot of people were saying they had sources about this Rick Pitino story and all that. So I put out a tweet 2 days ago.
The Rick Pitino, explain what that is. The Rick Pitino story is?
Well, what I tweeted out based on several sources that I have, and by the way, I tweeted it out before anyone else did, and then this Twitter account called Las Vegas Locally tweets something out an hour after I tweeted out saying they have, they're a source, and they don't even cover sports, that says that Pitino's in, back in the mix, whatever. So I talked to a few people several days ago. And they told me that, UNLV's going after Elaine Wynn, and if they can get some money from her, Pitino's right back in the mix. And I heard some other things that I can't say on the air right now because I don't like to say things unless they're verified by people I trust. But long story short, Pitino's back in the mix. And I put some odds on my Twitter page, several weeks back, I think, of the odds to be the next UNLV basketball coach. But I put Pitino at 20-1. I got him down to 4-1 right now. He's one of the favorites. Because of what's going on right now, I think there's a very good chance we get Pitino. Anyway, we talked about that yesterday. And then this Twitter, Las Vegas Locally, an hour later says they have a source. I just find it a little coincidental that it was an hour after my tweet, but fine, I'll give them credit.
Maybe you are their source.
It's very possible.
Maybe you're their source.
It's very possible. And you know what? Maybe it's just a coincidence. But that's not really where my frustration lies. My frustration lies with some people that cover UNLV basketball in this town. I think a lot of people are not honest. I think a lot of people say what people maybe be positive and say what people want to hear, instead of being truthful. As members of the media, we all are going to be opinionated, and we all could have different opinions, but some opinions are just ridiculous. I'm going to share with you a few, Ron. You've been in this town covering UNLV forever, much longer than me. So I want to get your thought on this. You're the perfect person to talk about this. So Ray Brewer's a really good guy. He does a great job covering high school sports for the Las Vegas Sun. But this is what Ray wrote in his article after UNLV got absolutely destroyed by Nevada Reno. He said the Rebels competed hard in the second half, which, considering there was no chance of erasing the deficit, it's a ringing endorsement for Marvin Menzies, and it shows the players haven't quit on him. Okay, that is just a ridiculous statement. Absolutely ridiculous. That you would give somebody credit for getting blown out on their home floor against Nevada Reno because they outscored them by 5 points in the second half. Let me read you a few more.
Ray is being positive. Ray is being positive.
It's okay to be positive, but you also have to be honest. And I think he's drinking the Kool-Aid, and he's a huge homer, and that does a disservice to the fans. John Sandler, who does play-by-play for UNLV, called the win against Air Force, a team that is ranked 256th in the country.
Air Force.
He called it, quote, a great win.
But the Air Force won the Gulf War. Okay, let's go back. What the Air Force did during the Gulf War I and Gulf War II, the Air Force won both Gulf Wars, so they're very powerful.
But Futrell...
it's a basketball.
Futrell, you're missing the point.
Oh, basketball.
Air Force is ranked 256 in the country.
As a basketball team. They're number one in the world. They're one in the world. Air Force is. U.S. Air Force is number one in the world. I
understand that.
But they're number 250 as a basketball team.
Basketball.
Okay, thank you.
When you're wearing a UNLV jersey, you should never call it a great win against Air Force. A guy that used to do a show here and does another show on another station, his name is Tyler Bischoff. This is what he said about the possible hiring of Pitino. This is what he said this morning.
Okay.
He said Francois hiring Pitino would be a shocker to him. He also said it could end her career as an athletic director if it didn't work out. What the hell is he talking about? First of all, why would it be a shocker? Number two, things don't work out all the time. It doesn't mean it ends somebody's career.
Let me say this about her. She won't be here long enough to know whether it works out or not. She's a short-timer. No, she is here for a little while.
Yeah.
She's going to look for another job as soon as her contract is up, and she's using this to go somewhere else. She's not a local. And bless her for that. And Ron, go now if you want to.
Ron, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But to say that hiring Pitino would be a shocker, where does he get this information from? What do you mean shocker? And to say that it would end her career as an athletic director, it could. To me, is just absolutely and positively ridiculous.
Yeah, that's image and perception. Is that you were the one who hired Pitino? No, but he makes a good point. No, let me take a little bit of his point. What Tyler is saying there is that if she's looking to go somewhere else, hiring Pitino here would be the worst thing for her career because she hired somebody who was disgraced at Louisville.
I disagree
too. No, I diskagree too.
I think it takes guts.
Look outside yourself into this world of political correctness nowadays, where you cannot hire somebody who's been damaged somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't listen. I'm coming from the point of view that Pitino needs UNLV. UNLV needs Pitino. This would be the best thing. I'm saying right here, right now. I've never said this anywhere public on your show, Brian. Pitino would be the best thing for UNLV. It'd be the best thing for Pitino. Give it a shot. I'll say, what do we have? What does UNLV have to lose?
I agree.
Go with Pitino. What do you have to lose?
And look, we agree on that. But we agree on that. I think any logical human being would agree with that.
No.
My point I'm trying to make is when people go out in the air and they say that it would be a shocker, I just don't get it. I'm going to read you one more quote from somebody else, okay?
Right.
And this is somebody that I got into it with on Twitter.
What? You got into it with somebody?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I did.
Brian, come on.
I know. I usually hold my opinions back.
I tried to tell you.
Well, there's a guy here in town, and I don't know exactly who he works for. I think he did some radio a few years back. I don't even know. His name's Joe Arrigo, okay? So he said, quote, a source told me that Mick Cronin would be interested in UNLV after next year since his daughter would be graduating next year, and staying at Cincinnati was important since she was still in high school, as well as UC stepping up for facilities and his staff. So I called them out on that. I said, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. First of all, Mick Cronin's daughter is in middle school. So his source
Maybe she's
wrong.
advanced. Maybe she's way advanced. Maybe she's way above middle school. She might be 7 years old, but she's way advanced.
But this guy has no idea what he's talking about, clearly in this tweet. And when you put out stuff like that and you say you're a member of the media or whatever he does, it puts out, information that's not factual. Okay, sometimes sources aren't always right. We know that, okay? But it's your job to do due diligence and put the right information out on the air. It's your job when you are the play-by-play guy for UNLV. You want to root for UNLV. I get that. Tommy Heinsohn's great. I love him with the Boston Celtics.
You're paid by UNLV.
Okay, I get that. But it is a complete embarrassment when you beat a team that's 256 in the country on your home floor and you struggle and you call it a great win. Stop the nonsense. That's why UNLV has a losing culture now, because there are a lot of people like that.
They didn't cover the spread.
Well, I can't comment on that.
Yes, we can. I will. They didn't cover the spread.
You can't say it's a great endorsement for Marvin Menzies because the team didn't quit on him in the second half while getting blown out on your home floor against Nevada Reno. Stop it. Am I wrong in criticizing these people? I'm sure they're very nice people. I don't know any of them personally. I know Brian Salmon personally, who does a great job for Channel 3.
Love Brian. He worked with me. He and I worked together at 13. So,
he's a great guy. Now, we just disagree. He thinks Menzies should come back. And he gives
come back where to?
Back to he
Does
thinks
CCSN have an opening?
He says Menzies should be the UNLV basketball coach next year, and I say to him, no, I think somebody else needs to get in here. But you know what? He's not going on Twitter and saying, well, my sources say Marvin Menzies is getting a new contract. He doesn't do that. He has an opinion. I have an opinion. It's one thing to have an opinion. Somebody's probably going to be wrong. Somebody's going to be right. But that's why they call it an opinion. It's another thing to just say ridiculous things. And I named a few of them. I could name more. I didn't want to bore people. But that's the problem I have. And we talk about fake news all the time when it comes to politics involving Donald Trump. We could agree or disagree on that. But, people in the media, particularly here, need to be held accountable. And I don't think they are. You can't just make up a source. You can't just say something and it's not true. I've never done that. I have never, ever, not to say, look, I make mistakes all the time, but I am not going to put something on social media and I am not going to say something on this show unless I am almost 100% certain that it's true and my sources are accurate. I never said Rick Pitino was going to get hired here. And now there's people out there that are saying, well, I heard that $2.5 million contract over 5 years. How could they put a contract together when they don't even have a coach? Does that make any sense? They don't have the funds, and they don't have a coach.
$2 million over 5 years. Let me do the math. No, he's worth that. By the way, do that. If you get that sort of money.
Well, that makes sense, but they don't have the funds yet. And, I want to open up the phone lines.
Elaine has the money.
Of course she does.
Now, is her name going on the hotel soon? Is it going to be called the Elaine soon, or is it still the Wynn? Just the Wynn. It's Wynn, Las Vegas.
That's a good
Elaine,
question.
Las Vegas.
I don't know.
I'm waiting for that one.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Then she would have the money to be able to.
Well, she certainly has the money to hire somebody like Pitino, that's for sure. Whether that's going to happen is here nor there. But my point is, there are members of the media that need to be a little bit more responsible with what they say and what they write. And
she does care about Rebel basketball. Let's go here. I'm going to put as I've said here often, I have the benefit and burden of history. And the Winds, there was no bigger supporter of Rebel basketball than the Winds were throughout the 80s. Now, it switched in the 90s. Why it did, I don't know. I haven't been able to put my finger on that. I have some speculation. It might have been very trivial, might have been just personality, but it shifted in the early 90s where the Winds shifted away from Tarkanian onto Bob Maxon's side. Mm-hmm. And I think since that time, Elaine has wanted to see this program return to prominence because it was very. By the way, it was the best program in college basketball for a long time. It's the absolute truth that they were big supporters. And one of the big mysteries is why did the Winds? And I've had conversations with Steve Wynn about this. I haven't talked to Elaine about it, but I've talked to Steve about why the change. Why did you leave Tarkanian and embrace Bob Maxon? Because that was the issue. Back then, back in 1980 and 1990, late 80s, early 90s.
Yes.
Why Steve Wynn went that direction. I have some speculation. I can speculate on why I think that happened, but Steve and I had conversations on the phone often about this, like, what's going on, Steve, and why are you going there?
Yeah, well, Steve's, let's just leave it at that. Steve's in a lot of problems these days.
Forget Steve. I'm equating Steve and Elaine because they were the same back then.
I understand.
It was the same. You say Steve, you say Elaine, and right now it's Elaine.
Sure.
Okay,
she's the one. She's the one who has the pocketbook. She's the one who's going to be writing the checks. But in regards to UNLV hoops,
but it is intriguing. I have some theories on why that change happened. But it was critical to the destruction of Rebel basketball. It was critical that shift changed because there were a handful of people, 5 people in this town, that went from Tark to Bob Maxon, and they changed the complexion of Rebel basketball for the next 30 years and destroyed this program. To the point where it became now next to nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant anymore. Now, getting Pitino back could change that. Somewhere I think Jerry Tarkanian smiling, going up in the heavens and go, Pitino? Yeah, they thought I was a crook.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it that Rick Pitino would be a smash hit here. I would support it 100%. Why don't we take some calls? 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Ron Futrell, Also in studio, we're talking about accountability when it comes to certain members of the media. I think why don't we start with Fernando? Fernando, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Yeah, fellas, well, here we go again. When there's a coach in place, I don't like the undermining of looking for another coach during the season. Wait till the season's over and then start looking. Because this is kind of undermining.
All right, well, hold on a second here. Let me pull back on you a little bit here, Fernando. Okay. I believe if you are the athletic director, you have to know right now what's going to happen. Barring Menzies winning the Mountain West Conference tournament, you have to start putting that out there right now. You need to hire a coach within a few days after you fire the coach. And the reason why I say this is because you don't want to happen what happened with Dave Rice. And I get it. Dave Rice was fired midseason. Year one was an absolute disaster when Menzies took it over. And I'm on the record saying that. You don't want that to happen again. If they are going to pull the trigger and they are going to hire a coach, within a few weeks, you absolutely have to know who that coach is. In my opinion, you have to know before the season ends. You can't wait till March 15th and then say, ooh, we got to find a basketball coach, because that's when disaster happens. And what happens if another Beard situation happens or a Mick Cronin situation happens? You don't want that to happen again with this program, and I absolutely think it could happen.
In my opinion, if Pitino comes here, he would put UNLV on probation, and I'm jumping ship. I'm not going to no more UNLV basketball games.
So
it would Chicago Ramblers.
Why? Let me. Why? You think Pitino would put UNLV on probation? Is that your reasoning?
In my opinion, yes.
Isn't there a chance that doesn't happen and he wins basketball games and he makes UNLV relevant again and he gets people in the seats and we get back to the NCAA tournament and we can compete for a Final Four or a national championship 3 or 4 years down the road? Isn't there a chance that he can get all these star recruits and we could have a team that looks like what a Duke is doing? Isn't that a possibility as well?
Like I said, he's too old now.
What do you mean he's too old, though?
Hold on. Let me finish before you jump on me. We want a top young assistant around 40 to 55 years old. We don't want a 7-year-old man. How do you feel, Ron? Do you want a young assistant, or do you want the old retread?
No, I'm on the Pitino bandwagon. Okay, let me go there. I am saying let's go ahead, give it a shot. Here's my theory on this one. I get your point, Fernando. But what does the Rebels have to lose at this point? Seriously, what do they have to lose? It's sad that they are that desperate, that they are that pathetic, desperate. That what have they got to lose? Get a big name. Pitino needs Vegas. Vegas needs Pitino. Bring him here. Roll the dice, baby. We're a town of rebels. We're a state of rebels. We are the rebel. We take chances. Now, I'm going to say this. When Tark was here, we had that attitude of we're rebels. Let's go. Us against them. Let's beat the world. Take them on. Take on the NCAA. Take on whoever, whatever. Pitino, I think, would sort of bring that attitude back. I like that idea that he would bring that attitude back here to Vegas again.
Fernando, we usually
bring it on. Let's go at it, and let's go all or nothing. Let's put it all on 7, and let's spin the wheel and put it all on 7 and hope it hits. That's what this is.
Fernando, we usually agree, Fernando, but I'm going to completely disagree with you on this. There are plenty of coaches over the age of 70 that have done a hell of a job.
Okay, Rick gets hired. He's 70-some. He coaches for 2 years, puts the team on probation. Then what?
But you're assuming. Fernando, I get
run fast,
Fernando. You're assuming that the team is goes on probation. You're assuming that, and I think you're making a big assumption.
Well, you do, and I do. So it's called freedom of speech. It's called opinions. But the thing I wanted to say was, this is the best show in America, in the Southwest.
Ding, ding, ding.
The other shows. They're not good at all.
Well, Fernando, I do appreciate those comments, and the check is in the mail, my friend. I appreciate it. All right, thanks, Fernando.
Roll the dice and go at it. No, seriously, it's at that point the program has fallen that far that it's become irrelevant. It's become irrelevant in the city. It's become irrelevant in college basketball. I was talking to somebody today about how great it was in the college basketball world when through the 80s and early 90s, when all the college basketball world revolved around UNLV basketball. Who could beat the Rebels? Can anybody beat the Rebels? Who could beat the Rebels? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can they beat the Rebels? Can Duke beat the Rebels? I don't know. Can North Carolina? Can UCLA? Can they beat the Rebels? I don't know. Can they beat the All the talk was about Rebel basketball was the center of the college basketball universe for a decade. That was so much fun in this town. That was so much. Pitino would okay, bring it back for good or bad or indifferent or whatever. Let's be there instead of being a non-factor, instead of a piece of. I can't. And
I get
be
what
a
you're
zero.
saying.
No. You say it. You have to elicit. Here's my theory. You have to elicit a response. This program now does not elicit a response. Rebels are playing
said,
at Wyoming tonight.
Yes, they are. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Let's take
another call. 257
elicit a response.
I agree. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Louie. Louie, thanks for calling in. How are you? Louie? Louie, Earth to Louie. I think we lost Louie.
Oh, baby, you want me to play it on the guitar?
No, please don't. No, please don't.
Ron, I'd like to play it 3 times if that's possible.
No, please don't. Please don't. I just think that there's a responsibility as members of the media to say things and have sources that are usually right, you would hope. And you can't say that Air Force was a huge win. You can't make comments like that, calling it a great win. You can't say that you're shocked if Pitino gets hired here. You can't say that UNLV, it's a ringing endorsement for Marvin Menzies because they outscored Nevada in the second half by 5 points. These are things that you can't say if you want credibility.
UNLV has had 30 years of safe choices. Oh, he's the safe choice. I love Charlie Spoonhour, the late great Charlie. I loved it. He's a safe choice.
We don't want that.
Safe choices. Shut up with the safe choices.
I agree.
We're done with safe choices. Get a deal breaker, somebody that can tear it up, rip it apart, throw it up, and make it happen. And no, Pitino would be that. He would tear it up. I want it tore up, and sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you get back up.
I agree. We only got about 90 seconds before we go to break, but let's go to Edward. Edward, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Fine. When they had the bookie and the beer and the players in the hot tub in the Review Journal, a picture that Sherman Fredericks,
I remember,
having you wonder where it came from, where he got it, but that hurt that's why that was the big change. Because you couldn't have sports betting around the country because people would say, well, look at Nevada. They're all corrupt, and you got the bookie and the athlete in the hot tub with the beer. And so that scuttled legal sports betting around the country for decades.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but we're certainly in a different day and age now.
That photo was a big BS, by the way. No, I'm going to say it right here, right now. What did that photo show? I had photos. I exposed photos with Richie the Fixer Perry, whose name was Sam Perry, with a number of different athletes all over the Big East Conference. It was not an issue in any of those places. It was here. Why? Because Bob Maxson at UNLV wanted to make it an issue to fire Tark. Yeah, as simple as that. There, you want one sentence?
Yeah.
I can elaborate, but there's one sentence for you.
Unfortunately, we have to go to break, but you can elaborate when we come back from break, Mr. Futrell. This crazy story about Jussie Smollett, we're going to get to that when we come back.
What?
Yeah, that's right. It is
that's
getting weirder and weirder by the day. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.